Hello, welcome to City Skylines for Beginners. This is episode 7. We're going to do shorelines today. I'm assuming that you probably have your tools menu open or your menu open. So go to tools, go to map editor, go to load, and whatever you named your map that we're working on, go ahead and click on it on the left hand side over here. And click load down here. And while we're waiting for this to come through, 2 quick reminders. Well, one right now. On your YouTube screen down in the right hand corner, remember to hit that sprocket and make sure that your resolution is at 480p or more, or you won't really see much except a bunch of fuzz. And we're going to be doing very minute things today, so you want to be able to see what we're doing. And once we get into the tutorial, you need to be aware that you will probably have waves still out here in your ocean, like these little waves right here that are between the island and the city. You can barely see them. Right there, see the little waves? Well, they're not little according to the shoreline. So until all of this has stopped slopping around so that you have a true shoreline height, you can't do much. So you need to wait for these little ridges here that are going back and forth to stop. If you go down to the bottom left and you click the acceleration button, so there are 3 blue arrows, that will make things go a little faster, which will help, because you can see right here I still have waves bouncing back and forth to the shoreline. There's one headed for the shoreline right here now, and until those stop you can't do shorelines. You can't change them because you don't know what your real height is of your water, so you don't know where to go with your 10 feet above, right? So we're just waiting right now for that to stop. I'm going to put it on hold until I have absolutely no waves left, and then I'll come back in and we'll start the tutorial, which will be like 2 seconds for you. Putting on pause. Hi there, I'm back. It's been 15 minutes, and as you can see, there are still a whole lot of crisscrossing waves out here bouncing back and forth. So I'm going to give it another 15-20 minutes. It'll be a second for you, and then I'll come back and hopefully we can get started on this tutorial. Okay, putting you back on pause. Okay, I'm back. It's been another maybe 10-15 minutes, and I think the water line out there is about, I don't see any reflections of waves out here in the sunshine, so I think we're good to go. Now, before we do anything, so we don't create more waves and ruin everything, we have to go down to the left-hand corner and click the accelerated time, not too slow, but over here where the arrow is on the far left side, click it so the bunny ears show. I call them bunny ears, those 2 little lines. When that's on, that means that everything has stopped. And you can go in and you can make changes without those changes having any effect until you turn it back on so that there are arrows. Did you catch what I did down here? Down in the bottom, left-hand corner, click it, you get an arrow. If you have a blue arrow, you're not ready to do your shoreline. Click it again until you have 2 blue bunny ears. Okay, now we're ready to do shorelines. So we go down to the shoreline. Try and get in here next to the water. Could it go any slower? There. Higher you get, the faster it goes. Okay, so we want to get up as close as we can. And then we want to go down to terraforming tool. We all know where that is. We want to go over to our leveling tool, second from the left. And then we want to pick our brush size. No, we're not even ready for that yet, but make sure that your brush is the solid green or solid black circle. Okay, and you can turn your brush size down a little bit. Now I want you to see the blue arrow has to be right at the water line, and then right click. Now mine is at 38.69. I don't know where yours will be, but wherever it is, add 10 to that. So I want to make mine, since I have a water line of 38.69, I want my shoreline to be 10 feet above it. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm at 43. What was I? I was 38.80. Okay, so anything that's like 48 is going to be fine. I'm at 46, 47, 48, 31. That works fine. So now that I have the height that I want the shoreline to be above the water, I back away and I get my brush size to be about what I want it to be going around the shoreline. That looks about right. Actually, I could probably make it just a smidgen bigger. There we go. Okay, and there's a reason why I'm doing it this way. So then you just start creating your shore. Now, if you haven't put your pause button on right about now, you'll have a lot of water rushing in over this shoreline because you've caused waves. And that is going to just make it so hard for you to work with this. So make sure you put your pause button on before you start this. And we're just going to go around the edges like so, all the way around. Okay, just like that. Doesn't have to be exact. Now, right in here is where you absolutely have to be certain that you have it 10 feet above, because, or wherever you plan on, if you're making a different map, wherever you plan on having your boats come in for your cargo, that they're picking up goods from the city and maybe picking up, excuse me, and maybe picking up passengers and dropping them off, you want to make certain that you have room in here that's exactly 10 feet above the water line, because that's what the docks for those big boats have to have, is an area that height to get into. And that has to be inside your city line. You can see where we have a city line right along here. I'll get down in closer so you can see. You can see where we have the city line right here. That's the edge of our map. This has to be inside the map, and water for the boats to come into it has to be inside the map, or the boats won't be able to get to you where it'll do you any good. Okay. Okay, I'm going to continue to do this all the way around to right about here. You want to be just before these islands. You don't want to go into the islands with your shoreline. At least I'm not going to on my map, because it looks more realistic that way. And I will also put a little bit around these right here. So I'm going to put it on hold so that I don't use up too much tutorial time, and then when I come back we'll have this finished, this part of it. Okay, we've got our shorelines done. Now I'm going to show you how to make the little atolls that are along the shoreline. Bring your brush size down to about half of what it was before. Go in close, and wherever you want the little atolls, you just, let's see, we've got it at 48 here. Right click to 48. Bring it down on your brush size to, well, no, wait a minute. Yeah, you want it to be just a little tiny bit lower. So because you want these to be visible, but for the most part you don't want them to be right at that height. So you're going to bring them down just below the water line. My water line is at 40. I'm going to take it down to 37, so it'll be about 3 feet lower, so that you can see them through the water, but the water still washes over them, kind of makes it look like areas underneath. See, and you just kind of like do this. And these make little swimming areas that people like to swim in and go snorkeling in. If you've ever been to Hawaii, you'll know that that's what you see when you are looking out of the plane as you come into Hawaii, is these little areas where the coral has come up. Okay? And you're just going to put it in that one spot, and then you're going to make a couple little spots. You right click over here on the part that's above water and bring your brush down to even half of that size and just make a couple little pops here and there where there's actually a little bit of it that is out of the water. You don't want all of it to be out of the water because that's not very picturesque. There we go. And you just kind of pop them in. You don't drag them. You don't want it to. Okay, so there are your atolls. And now that you've got all of that done, you can do the last bit, which is to bring your shoreline down into the water. So for that, you want to bring your brush up just a teensy little bit, go to your smoothing tool, your softening tool, and making sure you don't mess up your atolls too much. Just run along the edges here. You want to do this so that it looks more like an actual, you don't want it to be a cliff, you want it to be where the water rushes in over the edge. Can you see what I'm doing here? I'm just running along the edge here and making certain that you can even, I think when I did the other one, I made an area that was, again, back to the leveling tool, get my water height, 36, going to go down to 26. Okay, and then you can go across all of this area and make an area that is like so, below the water, a whole big area of it. Okay. And then bring your brush size down a little bit. Well, not that small, about like so. Grab your above the water shoreline area again because we want a nice big beach. The reason we want a nice big beach is because later on we're going to put some houses in here too. So we want this area that is the beach area to be able to handle houses and a shoreline. Okay, now we're going to go to the smoothing tool, and in between this lower area that we created and the higher area, we're just going to smooth it out just a little bit. There we go. Not a lot. You don't want to come in too far because you want to have an area that's above the water. Once we do this and we turn the water loose, it's going to wash back and forth, and eventually it's going to be washing back and forth on this nice little shoreline that we've created. Okay, so now over here you don't want to have that shoreline because you need to have a deep drop for the boats to come in. Remember, we're going to put the docking area over here on this side, so we're going to leave that alone. This is our shoreline for fun and play, and this is where the boats are going to dock in at. We might put in a little bit of shoreline. Grab this height first. Oh, I keep trying to grab it with the wrong tool. Okay, grabbing that height at 31 versus 48 with the right clicking. Okay, and then we're going to just put a little bit along here. but not too far because the boats are going to have to be able to get in and out. Okay, then using the smoothing tool, we'll just smooth this out. There. Okay, and we're done with all of this. And we've done 15 minutes, and it's way over time, so we're done with this tutorial. You do want to turn your water back on, and as soon as you do, you're going to see stuff flooding in. Watch that water come in. It's going to flood the whole thing. Turn your tools off. It's going to flood over everything. It's going to wash back. It's going to flood back over. And we'll watch it do that in the next tutorial because this one's already gotten way too long. But look at those waves. Look at all those waves down there that it's creating just from us having made a shoreline. Do you think you could have worked and made a shoreline with all that water splashing back and forth? I don't think so. That's why we put it on hold. Okay, that's it for this tutorial, and I hope you folks will come back for tutorial number 8, where we continue with whatever it is I'm going to show you next. I haven't decided. So you have a good day, and visit us on tutorial number 8. Thank you. Bye.